Chapter 2, Surah Baqarah, Part 1. Aim of the chapter: to form a new ummah in the religion of Abraham. Introduction: the surah establishes a new ummah, community, within the religion of Abraham, distinct from the old ones of Jews and Christians. It accomplishes this by dedicating a new Qibla, the Kaaba, for the followers of Prophet Muhammad, PBUH. It justifies this establishment by discussing the defiance of the Jews. It outlines the laws and rituals of the Ummah, and invests the guards, Muttaqin, to protect the Ummah. The entire surah revolves around the formation and protection of the Ummah. Structure of the surah. The surah can be divided in 6 segments. In the first segment, the surah, chapter, distinguishes the guards, Muttaqin, from the general Muslims, and identifies their adversaries as disbelievers and hypocrites. In the second segment, the surah introduces the Quran as a divine book. Here, Allah is introduced as the creator, humans are introduced as his vicegerents, and Satan is introduced as the enemy of humans. The segment authenticates and justifies the provision of divine guidance. The third segment talks about previous divine books and the children of Israel, Jews. The segment discusses their disobediences thoroughly. Thus, the surah justifies the formation of the new ummah. In the fourth segment, by dedicating a different Qibla, direction of prayer, the believers are made a new ummah in the religion of Abraham. In the fifth segment, the laws and rituals of the new ummah are given. Here, fighting for the cause of Islam is authorized, and the need to obey leadership is highlighted. The segments are divided in sections. One may go through the section headings given below in the flowchart. It will make one realize how the surah has developed. Flowchart: Segment 1, the guards, Segment 2, divinity of the Quran, Segment 3, causes of forming a new ummah, Segment 4, a new ummah created, Segment 5, laws and rituals of the new ummah, color code blue, the verses of the Quran, black. Other writings, Tafsir of the Surah, Segment 1, the guards. The segment identifies the people for whom the book, Part 1, is aimed. It terms them as guards, Muttaqin, and points out their adversaries. Section 1 of Chapter 2, Verse 1. Symbol of the chapter: Alif, Lam, Mim. Section 2 of Chapter 2. The book and the guards, Muttaqin. Verse 2 to 5. That is the book. No doubt in it is a guidance for the guards, Muttaqin. Those who believe in the unseen and perform as salat, and spend out of what we have provided for them, pay zakat, and who believe in the revelation sent to you and sent before your time, and they believe with certainty the hereafter. They are on guidance from their Lord, and it is these who will prosper. Remarks: the book, that is the book, no doubt in it is a guidance for the guards, Hudan lil Muttaqin. According to the verse, the book is for the guidance of the guards. If one will go through the book, one will find that the guards, Muttaqin, are guided up to Chapter 9 to expand the Ummah through struggle and warfare, jihad, and to establish their home from Morocco to the Pamirs, Jerusalem, home of peace. So the book is a part of the book that starts here at Chapter 2 and ends at Chapter 9. Ultimately, a reader will find that the Quran is divided in 3 parts. Part 1, guidance for the guards, Hudan lil Muttaqin, from Chapter 2 to 9. Part 2, guidance for mankind, Hudan lil Nas, from Chapter 10 to 30. Part 3, guidance for the doers of good, Hudan lil Musinin, from Chapter 31 to 114 inches. That is used in this verse to signify that the book, Part 1, stands apart from the other books of the Holy Bible and the Quran. This is because the book, Part 1, includes the war book, Furqan, from Chapter 3 to 9. 2. The guards, Muttaqin. The verse under discussion clearly mentions that the book, Part 1, Chapters 2 to 9, is for the Muttaqin. Muttaqin is plural of Muttaqi. The root word of Muttaqi is waqa, which means guarding. The word taki means you guard, so mutaki is a person who guards. At the time of Prophet, PBUH, by the word mutakin, people used to understand guards. Look into the tasks given to mutakin in the Medina Charter. Extract from the Medina Charter. Clause 1. This is a kitab from Muhammad, between the Mu'minin and Muslimin of the Quraysh and Yathrib and those who join them and make jihad alongside them. Clause 13. The mutakin are against whosoever of them acts wrongfully or seek an act of injustice, or promote sin, transgression, or evil among the believers. They shall all unite against him, even if he is the son of one of them. Clause 20. The mutakin guarantee the best and most upright fulfillment of this treaty. A mushrik will not grant protection to any property or to any person of the Quraysh, nor will he intervene between them and believer. Thus, mutakin is used in the verses to mean the guards of the Ummah. The next part of the verses, those who believe in the unseen and perform as salat, and it is these who will prosper, seems defining mutakin, guards, but it is not. The verses mean that these are prerequisites to be a mutaki, guard. It becomes clear from the guidance given to them up to Chapter 9. They are guided into the struggle and warfare to establish the Ummah and their home from Morocco to the Pamirs, Jerusalem, home of peace, and to protect. To explain further, believing, performing salat, and paying zakat do not make one a mutaki, guard. One becomes a mutaki after taking an oath, bay'ah, to the highest Islamic leadership to fight for the cause of Islam while actively engaging in activities such as believing, performing salat, and paying zakat, etc. They are voluntary forces of the Ummah, but they are not paid regular army. There may be two armies in an Islamic country. One is mutakin, under the highest Islamic leadership, caliph, highest imam, and another is paid army of the state. Up to Chapter 9, the mutakin, guards, were repeatedly called to join in the war expeditions and fulfill the covenant, bay'ah, that they had made to the Prophet, PBUH. Their actions in the battles were discussed, and the improvements were suggested. Ultimately, they established the Ummah and their home from Morocco to the Pamirs, Jerusalem, home of peace. Mutakin is often translated as God-fearing people, pious people, or righteous people. These are deviated translations. The deviated translation of such a key word put the whole Quran in confusion. It may be a great sin if it is done with ulterior motive. Probably, they do it to deter people from unjustified fighting. But the confusions bring more conflicts. If one reads this tafsir meticulously, one will understand when and where the guards, mutakin, should fight. The proper understanding up to Chapter 9 demands translating mutakin as guards. In some instances, Arabic dictionaries have been modified based on people's interpretations and understanding. Since these dictionaries were created long after the Quran was revealed, direct translations from these altered dictionaries can reflect these later interpretations rather than the original meanings. This can lead to expected but potentially inaccurate meanings when translating key terms from the Quran. However, I have conducted my tafsir based on the translation of Abdullah Yusuf Ali. I have not altered his translation unless it was essential to do so. Primarily, the verses that I have explained scientifically have been retranslated by me word for word. In Chapter 10, the Quran shifts its focus to mankind and declares Muhammad, PBUH, as the prophet for the whole mankind. Thereafter, the Quran becomes Guidance for Mankind, Part 2, Hudan lil Nas, Chapter 10-30, and scarcely discusses struggle and warfare, jihad. Preaching Islam among mankind living beyond the home of the Ummah, Jerusalem, Morocco to the Pamirs, is the responsibility of Sufis and Da'is, such as Khidr and the Seven Sleepers, where offensive jihad is not allowed. Section 3 of Chapter 2, verse 6 to 20, Adversaries of the Guards, Muttaqin. In this section, the Quran identifies the adversaries of the Muttaqin. They are disbelievers, kafirun, and hypocrites, munafiqun. The people of the book are not highlighted as adversaries. They follow the same God. The Quran narrates its views about them gradually and proclaims policies. The Quran amply guides in Chapter 5 how to live with them side by side. However, they can be fought in the home of Ummah, Jerusalem, Morocco to the Pamirs. So far they are subdued and pay jizya. Chapter 9. But the order was related to the removing of taguts, powers, with a view to convert the idolaters living in Jerusalem. As there is no idolaters in Jerusalem at present, the highest Islamic leadership, Caliph, highest Imam, can held the law of jizya suspended till the return of Jesus Christ. It may be mentioned that whether a verse of jihad will be carried out or not is decided by the highest Islamic leadership. For example, in Chapter 4, Prophet, PBUH, was told to fight against the hypocrites, but he did not fight. 3a. People that disbelieve, kafirun, verse 6 to 7. Indeed, those who disbelieve, kafaru, it is the same to them whether you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe. Allah has set a seal on their minds and on their hearings and on their eyes, is a veil. Theirs will be a great torment. Remarks, indeed those who disbelieve, kafaru, it is the same to them whether you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe. In reality, all Arabs believed, so the verse meant something different. The verse meant that disbelievers would not believe solely due to the warnings of the afterlife. The taguts, powers, were to be removed so that the disbelievers could accept Islam in safety. The verse actually called on the Muttaqin to prepare for war against the taguts. The taguts were opposing powers, such as disbelieving tribal chiefs, kings, and emperors. Once the taguts were removed through struggle and warfare, Arabs and Persians quickly embraced belief. The 9 great miracles of Moses could not change the people of Egypt. It looks ridiculous as to why a disbeliever does not believe even after the truth is clear to him. But it is the reality. Actually, the taguts who are already in power do not want any change, and the general people under them cannot accept the truth for their fear. The preaching of 13 years was not enough for the people of Makkah. Thus, the verses said, "It is the same to them whether you warn them or do not warn them. They will not believe." Thus, the verses motivated the Muttaqin, guards, to prepare for jihad, struggle, and warfare. Subsequently, the taguts were removed by warfare, and the idolaters found security and became Muslims willfully. The disbelievers are easy to identify, so the chapter finishes with them in short. The next part of the verses under discussion say, Allah has set a seal on their minds and on their hearings and on their eyes, is a veil. Actually, the sealing and veiling are done by Satan jinns. The verses say that it is done by Allah because nothing can happen without His permission and facilities. The jinns are created from antimatter. A Satan jinni is allowed to mount on an idolater. A Muslim is guarded by angels. Once the idolater gets deeply possessed, the jinni enjoys the idolater's life. He, the jinni, shares his wealth and children. But the idolater cannot feel it. He acts and behaves normally, except in the case of hearing the call of truth. When one calls the idolater to the truth, the jinni distracts the idolater's mind utterly to protect his, jinni's, gain. Hearing, he hears not. Seeing, he sees not. He feels agitated, he feels bad, and leaves the place. Normal warnings and motivations are not effective on such people, idolaters. They need motivation by force so that the Satan jinns run away from them and they can concentrate on the truth. They need preachers like Khalid bin Walid. The above matter will be amply clarified after the discussion of jinn in section 3 of chapter 7 and mind, kolb, in section 10 of chapter 6. 3b. The hypocrites and their signs, verse 8 to 10. Of the people, there are some who say, "We believe in Allah and the last day," while in fact they believe not. Fain would they deceive Allah and those who believe, but they only deceive themselves and realize not. In their hearts is a disease, and Allah has increased their disease. A painful torment is theirs because they are false. Remarks: the hypocrites, munafiqun, do not believe. They are not believers. Hypocrites may think themselves to be believers, but they are not believers because of their ideologies and activities. The signs of hypocrites are mentioned in the verses below. According to the hadith, they are heading to the lowest hell. 3b. 1. The first sign of hypocrites, verse 11 to 12. When it is said to them, "Make not mischief on the earth," they say, "Why? We only want to make peace." Of a surety, they are the ones who make mischief, but they realize not. Remarks: it is the first sign of the hypocrites. They do not establish peace in the way of Islam. They establish peace through some other ways, such as through the ways of democracy, socialism, articles of human rights, and so on. But in reality, they spread mischief on the land, which they realize not. A free society is a center of vices. One should not spoil the endless afterlife for this short, earthly life. People should opt to live in the religious societies for the betterment of themselves and their children. 3b. 2. The second sign of hypocrites, verse 13. When it is said to them, "Believe as the others believe," they say, "Shall we believe as the fools believe?" Nay, of a surety they are the fools, but they do not know. Remarks: it is the second sign of the hypocrites. A muttaqi follows the highest Islamic leadership, caliph, highest imam, and stands against visibly great powers, taguts, to materialize the orders of the Quran. So he looks fool to the hypocrites. 3b. 3. The third sign of hypocrites, verse 14. When they meet those who believe, they say, "We believe," but when they are alone with their evil ones, they say, "We are really with you, we only jesting." Remarks: it is the third sign of the hypocrites. They are secretly allied to the evil ones. 3b. 4. The condition of hypocrites, verse 15 to 20. Allah mocks at them and gives them increase in their wrongdoing to wander blindly. These are they who have bartered guidance for error, but their traffic is profitless, and they have lost true direction. Their similitude is that of a man who kindled a fire. When it lighted all around him, Allah took away their light and left them in utter darkness. So they could not see, deaf, dumb, and blind. They will not return. Or is that of a rain-laden cloud from the sky. In it are zones of darkness and thunder and lightning. They press their fingers in their ears to keep out the stunning thunderclap while they are in terror of death. But Allah is ever round the rejectors of faith. Kafirs. The lightning all but snatches away their sight. Every time it lights them, they walk therein. And when the darkness grows on them, they stand still. And if Allah willed, He could take away their faculty of hearing and seeing, for Allah has power over all things. Remarks: when the Islamic Revolution had flared up in Medina, the hypocrites were behaving like cowardly people in a thunderstorm. Ibn Salul, the hypocrite-in-chief of Banu Khazraj, once said, "I foresee the coming of Roman soldiers and the arrest of my companions one by one." Allah did not encourage them because they did not accept the faith as it had to be accepted. The rod cells take a couple of minutes to adapt the eyes to darkness. Eyes should be protected from light to maintain night vision. But the condition of the hypocrites was utterly precarious. They were like people moving through thunderstorms and recurrent lightning at night. So they remained blind throughout. 3b. 5. Concluding hypocrites. Above verses do not mean that a Muslim must be a muttaqi to avoid becoming a munafi. A Muslim may be a muhsin, doer of good, who is a common man having positive attitude toward the highest Islamic leadership. He performs salat, pays zakat, and remains tied to the local mosque. He pays extra for Islamic leadership and prays extra, tahajjud, at night. The part 3 of the Quran is for the Musinin. A Muslim may be a Sufi in extreme prayer and self-restraint and preaching Islam. However, becoming a muttaqi was compulsory during early Islam because that was a time of struggle, and the highest Islamic leadership, Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, called them to join. If the highest Islamic leadership calls for a general mobilization, everybody must join. The hypocrites too are kafirs, rejectors of faith. But they have a difference. They are not idolaters, so Satan jinns have not mounted on them, as the above verses say. And if Allah willed, He could take away their faculty of hearing and seeing, for Allah has power over all things. Therefore, the angels are still protecting them, so their minds are not sealed and their eyes and ears are not veiled. They can be brought back to the straight path by warnings and motivations. A hypocrite is known as a Muslim, but he is not supportive to the highest Islamic leadership, Caliph, highest Imam. In Chapter 4, the hypocrites are again discussed in the process of declaring war against them. The chapter, Chapter 4, narrates how the hypocrites are to be identified and which of them are to be neutralized. The chapter includes instructions related to the war against hypocrites. Segment 2, Divinity of the Quran. The Quran is calling people to a great revolutionary path. But what is its authority? So the Quran proves its divinity in this segment. The segment acquaints humans as the vicegerents of Allah and as learning creatures. Satan is introduced as an enemy to humans. Therefore, the segment highlights the need for guidance. Section 4 of Chapter 2. Proof of Divinity, verse 21 to 22. O you people! Adore your guardian Lord who created you and those who came before you, that you may become muttaqin, who has made the land your couch and the skies your canopy, and sent down rain from the skies, and brought forth therewith fruits for your sustenance. Then set not up rivals unto Allah when you know. Remarks. In the above verses, the Quran calls upon people that know to comprehend the existence of a guardian Lord by observing the land as a couch and the skies as a canopy. The intelligent design is created and sustained by Him. Note, in these verses, the skies means atmospheric layers and magnetosphere. These are not skies of the universe. The skies of the universe is discussed in Section 7 of this chapter. 1. The sky has been made a canopy. The magnetosphere and atmospheric layers work as canopies to protect us from harmful radiation emanating from astral objects. The atmosphere maintains temperature and produces the rains as well. Point 1a. Earth's magnetic field. The Earth has a huge magnetic field. The magnetic field protects us from the solar wind. Figure 2.1. Earth's magnetic field. The stream of energetic charged particles emanating from the Sun is known as solar wind. Earth's magnetic field deflects most of the charged particles, so the sky of the Earth has been made a canopy. Point 1b. Atmospheric layers. The atmosphere protects us from harmful radiations. Only visible light and infrared light can come to the ground. Harmful radiations like X-rays and ultraviolet rays are absorbed or reflected. Figure 2.2. Atmospheric layers protecting from the harmful radiations. So the sky of the Earth has been made a canopy. 1c. Greenhouse effect. The atmosphere maintains temperature by greenhouse effect. The carbon dioxide of the upper layer of the atmosphere traps heat and keeps the Earth warm. If the quantity of carbon dioxide were more, the Earth would be overheated. If it were less, the Earth would freeze. The Earth has system, carbon cycle, to maintain correct quantity of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Figure 2.3. Greenhouse effect. So the sky of the Earth has been made a canopy. 1D. Protection from meteorites. The atmosphere protects us from the meteorite as well. They are burned down to the smaller sizes when they pass through the atmosphere. Figure 2.4. Falling asteroid. So the sky of the Earth has been made a canopy. 2. Sending down rain from the sky. The top layers of atmosphere works as canopy, but the bottom layers causes rain, as the verses simultaneously say, "Who has made the land your couch, and the skies your canopy, and sent down rain from the skies?" Air can absorb great amount of water vapor. The clouds form and float in the troposphere mainly. In this layer, the temperature rapidly decreases and forms the clouds. Figure 2.5. Temperature curve. The floating clouds turn back from the height of 12 kilometers. Layers beyond that height are meant to protect us from harmful radiations. Much of water vapor is not allowed to rise there. There is no scientific explanation why the rise and fall of temperature is so peculiar in the layers of atmosphere. It is just nature, designed and sustained by Allah. So, the skies of the Earth has been made a canopy. Point 3. The land has been made a couch. The Earth is producing living creatures for billions of years. The long deposit of organic decay has made the crust suitable for us. The drifting continents formed the high mountain ranges that produced rivers, a major source of sweat water. The raining sky revives the lands again and again. It raises the groundwater to make the earth fertile. So the land has been made a couch by producing its soft soil crust. 4. To conclude, in old times, people did not know. Now we know. Thus, the verses say us at the end of the paragraph, "Then set not up rivals unto Allah when you know." Verse 23 to 24. "And if you are in doubt as to what we have revealed from time to time to our servant, then produce a surah like thereunto, and call your witnesses or helpers besides Allah if your doubts are true. But if you cannot, and of a surety you cannot, then fear the fire whose fuel is men and stones, which is prepared for those who reject faith." Remarks. The Quran proves its divinity by focusing on the science of creation. But one may not have the knowledge of science. So it has suggested another way to test its divinity. A challenge is put forward. Produce a surah like thereunto. Hafez could not write like Sadi, and Sadi could not write like Hafez. The rhythm and lyric of each poet is different. Allah knows it. He knows that everyone's fingerprint is unique. He knows that every date is different. Clusters of dates hanging low and near, and gardens of grapes and olives and pomegranates, each similar, yet different. Al-Quran 6-99. Thus, the Quran is not saying about the style of writing. The Quran is saying that it is guidance. The Quran is saying that it is full of truth. The Quran is saying that it has no contradiction. A human cannot produce such book. The Quran is guiding its followers through the hard path and surviving undaunted over the time and time ahead. More than 1400 years have passed. The Quran has proved itself. It is deeply rooted in human civilization as the real book of guidance, complete and perfect in all aspects. The Quran was fit to teach the Arab Bedouins, and the same ancient Quran is fit to teach the giants of knowledge living today. A human or a team cannot produce such a book. It is from the Creator of the universes. Section 5 of Chapter 2, Paradise, Jannat, is a reality. Verse 25. But give glad tidings to those who believe and work righteousness, that their portion is Jannat, beneath which flow rivers. Every time they are fed with fruits therefrom, they say, "Why, this is what we were fed with before," for they are given things in similitude. And they have therein companions pure, and they abide therein. Remarks. In view of the Quran, the paradise is not a spiritual thing. It is a reality like the earth, with beautiful lands, plants, fruits, animals, and companions pure. So it is worthy of striving hard. One day, the people that believe and work righteousness will escape from this universe, samawat, to live in the peaceful planets of Jannat, another universe, forever, because their portion is Jannat. Section 6 of Chapter 2, Way of narrating the similitude, verse 26 to 28. Indeed, Allah disdains not to use the similitude of things, even of a mosquito or what is on top. And those who have believed know that it is the truth from their Lord, but as for those who disbelieve, they say, what did Allah intend by this as an example? He misleads many thereby and guides many thereby. And he misleads not except the defiantly disobedient, those who break Allah's covenant, taken as bay'ah to Islamic leadership after it is ratified, and who sunder what Allah has ordered to be joined, breaks unity, and do mischief on land. It is those who are the losers. How can you reject the faith in Allah, seeing that you were without life, and He gave you life? Then He will cause you to die, and will again bring you to life, and again to Him will you return. Remarks. There are many scientific verses embedded in the Quran as the signs of its divinity. But everybody does not have the knowledge of science. So the verses of scientific signs are often narrated with examples of similar things in a way that the verses make some sense to all. For example, mosquito, or what is on top of it, are similitude of small things to a reader without the knowledge of science. But it is a sign of divinity to a person having the knowledge of science. Now it is discovered that there are parasites that get attached to the mosquitoes and suck blood. The above verses mention the parasite as what is on top of it. Allah has put a human on the earth to test and decide His eternal destination. So the scopes to disbelieve are kept open in the Quran. For example, the Quran says that Allah has made the land our couch and the skies our canopy. In the old times when the science was not developed, the canopy and the couch used to be understood by the believers as similitude of God's favors. But a disbeliever could laugh at the verse, saying that Muhammad's canopy does not protect from the sun and the rain, and his bed is full of sand. Allah could describe magnetosphere and atmospheric layers to explain how these work as canopy. He could describe how the land has been made couch by producing the soft soil crust. But Allah has not done it, because it would spoil earthly test environment. Now too, when the science has developed, a believer relates the canopies with magnetosphere and atmospheric layers, and a disbeliever thinks the believer's thought as wishful thinking. Thus, the scientific signs are described in a way that even when science is developed, a disbeliever can choose to disbelieve. Therefore, the verses strengthen believers' faith, and a disbeliever remains disbeliever. As the verses under discussion say, He misleads many thereby, and guides many thereby. The same thing is done everywhere. We understand that this fine-tuned universe resulted from the acts of Allah, but disbelievers fail to relate and think it as a result of accidents and unguided evolutions. They too have scientific logics in their favor, as we have in our favor. However, many of our proofs are based on definite discoveries, and they rely on theories and hypotheses mainly. In the probability of accidental creation, only 1 out of trillions of planets would be suitable for a creature like us. The disbelievers are willing to accept the existence of trillions instead of believing in one God, even though only a few stars show remote signs of having any planets. It is mathematically proved that the simplest DNA molecule, which could replicate and produce another similar creature, could not come up through accidents. It needed designing by an extraordinarily intelligent being, no less than the God of the Quran, but the disbelievers do not believe. Allah developed the program of life as the DNA code, which can form a human body with highly developed brain, nervous system, eyes, ears, skin, etc. Thus, the verses under discussion say, You as soul in spiritual world, were without life, without physical life, and He gave you life, physical life, from the DNA code. Life on the earth is short, but it will be repeated. Then He will cause you to die, and will again bring you to life, and again to Him will you return. But it does not touch the heart of an idolater. Actually, people destined to the hell will not believe. They are ever distracted by the Satan jinns mounted on them. Allah protects the faiths of believers, except of the defiantly disobedient, those who break Allah's covenant, breaks bay'ah made to Islamic leadership after it is ratified, and who sunder what Allah has ordered to be joined, unity, and do mischief on land. Actually, Allah knows everybody precisely. The test is arranged to settle the arguments of the losers.